Explain, no.
Okay. Welcome back to the From the Fabricator podcast. It's 2026. Happy and healthy new year to everybody. It's going to be a great year. And thank you so much for checking in with me and on this monthly adventure through the glass and glazing industry. Got two great guests coming up for you in a moment. Just a couple pieces of housekeeping. One is BEC registration. NGA's BEC registration is open. Go to glass.org. It is in Louisville. Check it out. You want to go to Louisville. It's a great conference. If you've never been, hit me up. I'll explain it to you. But it is the ultimate spring conference in our industry. BEC is its name. If you're not aware, check it out and let me know. Also, it is New Year, and once again, I'm thrilled that the gang from FHC is supporting this podcast, so Happy New Year from them. And during this special time, we all reflect on the previous year and chart the course for the one to come, contemplating the things we should have and could have done differently and strategize the opportunities to capitalize on to make this new year better. Are you partnered with the right supplier? Does your current vendor have your back? This is the year to challenge the way things have always been done and consider doing business with a manufacturing and supplying company that consistently puts glaziers' needs ahead of shareholders. Perhaps this is the year to discover why more and more glaziers, fabricators, and architects are choosing FHC for glass railings, all glass entrances, and frameless shower door hardware. This is your year, and FHC has your back. You now have a choice. FHC, FHC-USA.com. Thank you so much to them for their support. All right, podcast time. Two really cool guests, two people that are relatively new faces for me, fresh faces for me. I know some of you know these folks, but for me, they're new and enjoyed getting to know them. Sarah Andreasen from Kawneer kicks it off, and really sharp person and some great insights. And then Chris Scheiblein of LMCI-IUPAT at the end. He brings up some things that really make you think. Really brilliant guy. So I think you'll enjoy it. On the other side, I'll have some TV thoughts. But check it out. We'll start with Sarah, then Chris. Thank you so much for being back with us again in 2026. Okay. Kicking off 2026, I am joined by Sarah Andreasen, Director of Commercial Excellence at Kawneer. You can find them online at kawneer.com. And I told Sarah when we got on the phone, it's very rare for me to do a podcast where I don't even know the person at all. And so this is really starting from scratch for me. So Sarah, thank you so much for doing the podcast and allowing me to get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, obviously an admired leader in our industry, so really honored for the time to connect with you in the show.
Thrilled to have you here. And I guess it's time to take a look back at you. This is a way for me to kind of get to know you a little bit better. Tell me about your life, where you grew up, your background, went to school, so on, how you made it to today.
Yeah. So born and raised in Indiana. I actually went to Indiana State University, graduated there with a degree in mechanical engineering technology. My first industry experience was actually in automotive as a co-op, but then I took my first full-time job for a parent company at the time of Kawneer, which is Alcoa. So I started with them as kind of an internal consultant for continuous improvement. And about 16 months after I started, Kawneer had acquired Traco, which is now our Cranberry operation for Windows. And so, a couple weeks after acquisition, I was part of the team that facilitated one of the first system Kaizens there. And I guess you could say sort of the rest has been history. 16, almost 17 years and 8 roles later, I think I've seen a little bit of everything across the Kawneer business now, from both operations and the commercial side of the business, and manufacturing and engineering, order processing, business development, sales and operations planning, and even sales. So it's been a really exciting journey to this point.
No doubt. I would assume I never expected you to have that many roles. Coming out of Indiana State, thinking back those days, did you ever expect to see yourself in the glass and aluminum business? That's got to be a stretch.
Yeah, definitely. It was very new to me. I mean, I tell some people this embarrassingly. I remember they told me, the first day actually with Alcoa that I was going to go to one of their plants in Arkansas. They said it was Kawneer, and I didn't know what to expect. Was it the hair dryer or what? I know that there's no aluminum hair dryer. So,
Right.
and so, fast forward, wow, there was a lot of learning that I had to do, but it's been a really exciting journey.
That's awesome. Yeah, yeah, because I always hear from friends who don't know this industry, it's the hair dryer or the movie, with the airline,
Oh
Con
yeah,
Air. Yeah.
yeah,
And
yep.
because our industry pronounces Con Air 15 different ways too.
That's true too.
You have the old timers who say it one way and you have it how I say it. And, so it
Yep.
is all over the place. But I'm thrilled that you're here and neat past. And it's neat that you did so many different things because
Yeah.
you weren't stuck in one rut. So you bring like a different energy, and I assume you're probably feeling that when you come to our world because you're coming in where a lot of people have been here for a while, and you're coming in with like a fresh perspective.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it helps me have a better sense of, why things maybe are the way they are, right? You're not typically too quick to jump to conclusions because you can understand why things may be perceived one way based on, how they're built and manufactured, and then you understand from a customer and design perspective why some of the challenges we have on the manufacturing side are kind of hard to wrap your head around too. So it's giving me a nice balance, I think, to help bring to both sides of the business.
Tremendous, tremendous. All right, so talking about the business, Conair, what do you got that's new there? What's exciting you? What products are exciting you? Anything standing out for you right now?
Yeah, a couple things, both products and service wise, I think. From a product perspective, we are super excited about the recent launch of our 1600 UTSS curtain wall system. So, for us, it's a high thermal product that allows us to really continue to drive that leading edge performance, but also really support evolving construction trends that we're seeing and the need for especially prefabricated options. So really excited about that one. That product just was recently named the best framing system or component in the 2025 Glass Magazine Awards, and also recognized for 2025's Positive Planet Awards. So really excited about that. We've also recently made some investments in our window wall portfolio that I'm excited about. Those will be coming out in early half probably of 2026 now, so be on the lookout for those. And then, in terms of service, I think what excites me most is we're really attacking from a number of angles initiatives that are going to help us continue to improve the customer experience. So really looking forward to seeing a lot of those efforts come to fruition and really get those out into our customers' hands in 2026.
Nice, nice, nice. Good stuff. And obviously, congrats on the awards. That's always nice to
Yeah.
have in your back pocket, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, we're really excited.
Awesome, awesome. I've got Sarah Andreasen, Director of Commercial Excellence at Conair, conair.com. You can find the info and products that she just talked about. You mentioned evolving tastes and so on. Let's talk about the evolution when it comes to architects and owners. You guys are always on the front end of things. You're always seeing it. What are you seeing out there with changing with their taste towards performance, sustainability, et cetera?
Yeah, yeah, good question. From a performance standpoint, first, I mean, I think we've seen an even stronger push in recent years for resiliency, particularly, I think, in response to a lot of the national trends and weather patterns that we're seeing. So, high thermal performance continues to be on top of mind, but we're also seeing big pushes for seismic performance, hurricane impact resistance, human impact resistance. And so we've really been able to focus a lot of our energy on performance testing for both existing portfolio and then for new portfolio so that we can stay at the leading edge of those trends. From a sustainability standpoint, I think even though it may not be as big of a priority for the current US administration, we continue to see that being a leading influence for architects and building design considerations. So, we intend to continue innovating in that space and making sure that we are just relentlessly contributing to the better built environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it might be taking a little couple year break, but it's not going away, and it
No,
can't go away. And especially for
no,
for our world, glass and aluminum takes a lot of heat out there. No pun intended.
absolutely.
We have to keep evolving and keep
Absolutely.
focusing on that. So good call by you. Good call.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about technology because again, that's another thing that you and Kawneer are always kind of on top of. There's a lot out there now with AI and BIM and design assist and so on. How has that changed? I mean, you've been in so many different positions. It's probably changed for you 15 different ways over your past. But how has that changed the way that you guys are going to market with your facades and your curtain walls and so on?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's energizing because coming into the industry in construction we sometimes are thought of as late adopters, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of exciting stuff out there to your point right now. In terms of specifications, I think there are a number of different software options out there on the market that aid in specification generation. So we're constantly trying to keep a pulse on that, make sure that we're relevant in those spaces. We also use on the back end of specification a lot of different business analytic tools to understand where do we have gaps in product that's being specified and across different markets to make sure that we're able to support those areas. And then, from sold projects and products, AI is getting really exciting in our space. We're using AI now for things like project takeoffs, checking the accuracy of our orders. And then, we remain really committed to the expansion of our e-commerce platform. So we are continuing to really invest in that space, making sure that we've got robust options for configuration and pricing, and being able to really seamlessly transfer information between us and our customer to ensure accurate quotes. So that's a space that's really important to us because we see ourselves as a leader in our industry with our platform. So we want to make sure that we continue to drive value and transparency in that space so that both we and our customer can be successful together in projects.
No, that makes sense. And just a couple thoughts there. One is, the e-commerce obviously will add a lot of efficiency to you as
Yes.
well because that cuts out like a whole step.
Yeah.
And so kudos on that. And then I had to laugh about the specifications because it's about time that the architectural community, we can get away from the copy and paste aspect of things. Now, with this extra assistance, we can, keep things more up to speed. And I'm sure you and your team are probably seeing that,
Absolutely.
because it drives you crazy when you get a specification and the products listed are not made anymore. The companies listed are out of business for many, many years and just drives you up the wall. So,
Yeah.
so I think that technology will help them quite a bit. And I love that you guys have integrated some AI into your world because I do think that there's a good play for that. You personally, do you like AI or how are you feeling about the whole AI world?
Yeah, definitely like it. It's something that I think you have to just approach cautiously, right? So even in, some of the tests and exploration we've done, we want to use it. We're back checking it to make sure that we can trust it, right? And I think that that's how I look at AI. It's the world at your fingertips, but you also kind of have to back check it and make sure, is it really telling me what I think it should be telling me, and can I move forward with it in that way?
Yeah. Yeah, it is amazing though, but you're right. If you do not back check it, if you do not, kind of go cautiously into it, you could find yourself in a little bit of a
Yeah,
rough spot, no doubt, no doubt. Well,
yeah.
good on you guys. Good. I've got Sarah Andreasen, Director of Commercial Excellence at Kawneer with me. Kawneer.com is the website, and every podcast I break up with a fun question about halfway through. And for you, again, which is wild, whatever you tell me is going to be brand new for me. But what are your hobbies? What do you like to do in your spare time? What do you like to do to get away from the grind of the corporate world?
Yeah, yeah, good question. Well, I have a 6-year-old daughter, so she definitely she's
It's a
spunky.
hobby.
She keeps yep,
That's a
she
hobby.
keeps me on my toes. So that's the
Yeah.
prime hobby right now. She just lost her second first tooth, so she should be
Awesome.
asking for two front teeth for Christmas this year. Don't know that she will, but she should be. But no, outside of that, I enjoy being outside, going for a run, exercising, traveling. When I can find the time, I enjoy home brewing. That was a hobby that my dad kind of instilled in me
Nice.
back in college, so enjoy doing that a few times a year as well.
Nice. And you were probably very popular in college as a home brewer, I would assume. Yeah.
Yeah, craft beer hadn't really taken off in that period, but it was a fun process to at least be a part of.
I could imagine. And quickly on your daughter, is the tooth fairy still a thing? My kids are old. So
Yeah,
do you have to sneak in? And what is the going rate for the tooth fairy these days?
inflation is real even with the tooth fairy.
Wow.
My mom will talk about how she got, a nickel. I remember it was like $1 for us. I think it also depends on how much, cash the tooth fairy has access to is also a primary factor.
Right.
Um, but we've gone up to $5, I think, at our
Wow.
house now. So yeah,
Wow. Wow. Yeah, it's not like the 6-year-old has Venmo, and
no,
the tooth
no,
fairy's dropping a Venmo in there or a Cash App. So
yep,
great,
yep.
great stuff. Yeah, I miss those days, but I also remember the panic of looking at my wife and saying, "Did you put anything under the pillow?" I'm like, "Oh no." Pure panic of rushing down to the bedroom to do something or else, that
It's
next
real,
morning would be devastating. So
right?
very cool.
It's
Very
real.
cool. I love it. I love it. Good stuff. Good stuff. And good hobbies too. I like that, all of that. Very cool. A couple more questions for Sarah Andreasen, Director of Commercial Excellence at Kawneer. So in your current position, there's got to be a ton of different challenges. What do you think are kind of the biggest challenges you have today within this construction environment that we have that is, sometimes pretty volatile?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, volatile is definitely, I think, a key word of that because it seems to change a bit each year. I think right now there are kind of three key challenges that come to mind. I think the first is just managing cost inflation in what's a really tight market. For us in Kawneer North America, we are a North American company. And so we've really had to tackle a lot of the tariff policy and the inflationary impacts of that head on through the course of this year. So that's been a big one for us. I think the second is keeping service top of mind. So, we operate in a very complex project value chain and product supply chain. And so, our company's built on a 120-year reputation of having some of the best quality and reliability and performance in the industry. And so we don't take lightly that that's our responsibility to continue to uphold that and just double down on our efforts to continue that legacy. So keeping service top of mind is definitely a key challenge in front of us. And then the last I would say is just it's volatile, but it's evolving. So trying to keep a really close pulse on micro segment, regional and macro trends and understanding what are some of the impending code changes? How is project delivery method changing? And how do we really keep all of those in front of us and prioritize? How do we put that into our future plans for innovation so that we can continue leading and giving solutions to our customers and to the industry as well?
Yeah, you've got a lot going on at all times, and
Yeah.
especially being in the metal side. Yeah, the
Yeah.
volatility there, the volatility was there before the tariffs.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair
I
enough.
mean, so I mean, it's just makes it a little tougher, but it sounds like you're all on top of it, and you have to be. And I love the service angle. I think that's
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that's I think what everybody desires is
Absolutely.
service me, service me, service me, and then we can deal with anything else. But the service is big key. So I think you've got that.
Absolutely.
You've got
Yeah.
that.
We can't be successful, right, without our customers and without all of the stakeholders throughout the entire project delivery. So you're absolutely right. That's a priority for sure.
Love it. Love it. So this one was funny. When I wrote this question out, I was thinking more from a project. So the question is, what project have you worked on that you still think about today?
Yeah.
And part of me was thinking, okay, it's like a building, like you're redoing, a corporate headquarters or something. But also after you talked about what your past was, I mean, you may have been involved in projects, changing something dramatic within Alcoa or Conair. So you could go a couple different ways, but what is a project that you worked on that sticks with you to this day that you're like, it was either super, it was awful, it was a learning
Yeah.
experience. It could be a bunch of different things. What
Yeah.
was it for you?
Yeah. To your point, this was not necessary because it's a huge project, but one that, as I thought back through all the different projects, that you've had an opportunity to support, one that comes to mind is honestly, it was a retrofit project. So Coddington School was the original school, it was built in 1908. We called the project Coddington Hall. And it's in Quincy, Massachusetts. So it's a three-story building and listed on the National Register of Historic Places, though. And for us, why it sticks out to me is it was really our first sizable project from the launch of our AA 5450 OptiQ series project. So they were large hung windows, really meant to mimic that historic preservation aesthetic. And I just remember it being, such a big project for a first launch of a product and working just so closely for hours with the fabrication teams, the assembly teams, engineering and quality and safety, and obviously the customer to make sure that we had all facets of that project really covered in preparation for getting the product out to them. So for whatever reason, across all the projects, that's one that sticks out just because of all the coordination that I was kind of in the middle of as we were doing the project.
And that's a tough one for a first project.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
the pressure of a historical registered building. I'm sure
right,
Quincy, Mass isn't exactly probably easy to work around because it's a lot
right.
of older buildings.
Yep.
So yeah, I could see why that's stuck in your mind. And then you have the whole never have a second chance for a first impression for a new
Exactly.
product.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
so,
Spot on.
awesome. So you guys hit it. You're happy still to this day. That's why it's in your mind. Very good.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. And that we actually have a case study out there on the website. If you ever want to take a look at it, you can see what some of those images look like. It's an older project now, is one that probably happened in the first kind of quarter of my career, but still an exciting one.
It's there's nothing wrong with that. Very cool, and you can
Yeah.
find it up at Kawneer.com. Is I've got Sarah Andreasen with me, Director of Commercial Excellence at Kawneer. One more question, at least going forward. So we're in 2026 now. What's it look like for you? I mean, it's funny because the market depends on kind of what city you're in, what region you're in.
Yeah.
Some people are more soft, some people are still busy. Some projects are still going like crazy. Some people are like, hey, I just got to get to 2027. How are you feeling? How's it going? Looking forward into this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to be able to paint a big rosy picture as we're starting off 2026. But I think unfortunately we're still anticipating the markets to continue to decline a bit into this year. Inflationary pressures are going to continue. Lending rates we believe will move, but probably not in a meaningful enough way that we can see positive momentum against some of the headwinds that we're having. Um, I would say, our teams still continue to report that architectural activity is strong, so that's good. We'll take
Yeah.
that. We always want to see, new projects and inquiries coming out. We've got an eye on education. Education is a big segment for Conair, one that we rely on each and every year. And there's some projections out there that education, both K through 12 and institutional, may be a bit challenged in terms of new construction, especially coming into this year. So that'll be a challenge for us and something that we need to be very aware of. So with all that in mind, I think our goal is we're going to continue to drive growth initiatives that
Mhm.
enable us to try to offset all those economic drivers that are surrounding us. And we've got some key investments as well that are on the horizon or in place right now that we're working on to continue to position ourselves and help propel ourselves to really be able to continue to support our customers in the market as it does come back. So one of which is we've got a really nice big press replacement project that's happening in our primary curtain wall facility. So that's going to be amazing to get that online. And then, I previously mentioned it, but we'll continue a lot of those investments into technology tools as well,
Right.
our e-commerce platform and different products as well. So we're really going to be focused on that to try to offset market and position ourselves for the future.
Yeah, and it's when things are a little slower on the sales side, this is when you can make all those other improvements with little disruption compared to
Yeah,
trying to do it when things are crazy. So it's a good
yeah,
move. Other than some people just sit on their hands and they're
can't do
like,
that.
I can't do anything until it comes back. And so I give you and your team credit that you're moving forward and because it will come back. It's just a
Yeah.
question of when. But kudos to you. A lot of fun stuff ahead. I mean, I'm sure you're even though the market's a little softer, I'm sure you're excited about all this stuff on your plate.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely excited. There's always something to go and work on improving. So, certainly we're looking forward to being there despite the market condition, but also preparing ourselves to really be able to excel and propel together as things become a little bit more rosy.
Awesome, awesome. Well, that's a good way to end it. Sarah Andreasen, Director of Commercial Excellence at Conair. Find her online, her company online at conair.com. Sarah, thank you so much for doing the podcast. It's great to
Yeah,
get to know
thank
you.
you.
I look forward to meeting you in person one of these days.
Absolutely. Yes, we need to for sure. Looking forward to it.
You bet. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Hey glazers and fabricators, FHC, the frameless hardware company, is here to support your business. In addition to offering a complete selection of glazing tools and supplies to get the job done right, we design, engineer, and manufacture a comprehensive offering of frameless shower door systems, heavy glass doors, aluminum entrances and storefronts, architectural railings, transaction and display hardware. Privately owned and American made, FHC prioritizes you, the customer. You now have a choice. Visit fhc-usa.com.
Okay. Continuing on in 2026, the first episode of From the Fabricator of the year. I've got Chris Scheiblein with me, Director of LMCI over at the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades, better known as IUPAT. See them online at iupat.org. Chris, thank you so much for doing the pod.
Hey, Max, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm thrilled to get to know you a little bit. I've met you a couple times, talked to you a couple times, but this is a great opportunity for me in the industry to kind of get to know you. You cover a lot of different things for a lot of different people, so it's a prime opportunity, I would say. And so I always start with your background, the origin story, basically where you were born, grew up, went to school, and your journey to today. Give me the past of Chris Scheiblein.
Okay. A little bit of an interesting journey. So, born and raised in Philly. I live in a suburb of Philly now, but so went to 12 years of Catholic school. Didn't know that trades were going to be my path. Didn't have any in my family. Father passed when I was young, and mother worked for the government. So didn't really have a lot of trades, no uncles in it, things like that. In 94, I started with the bricklayers in Philly, local one. It was actually local 35 then, Pointer, Queener, Calker local. My friend's grandfather was the business manager.
Okay.
So, I started kind of as like a seasonal helper, things of that nature. And I was doing some residential roofing. I was kind of trying to find myself, right? Ended up getting in officially, I think my book says 97. Went through the apprenticeship, worked there until 2006. 2006, I started work for a company called the Allied Trades Assistance Program. So
Okay.
I became the employees assistance professional. For those that don't know, I was doing basically assessments and referrals for the majority of the Philly building trades in the behavioral health space. So
Okay.
I was putting them in treatment centers or giving them outpatient referrals, things like that. So I did that till 2016. And then I actually went back to work. I went back in the field in the ironworkers in Philly for a year.
That's
Not
a
quite
jump.
even, not
That's,
quite even a year.
yeah.
That's another story, Mike. That is something where that was a personal, just feeling burned out from
Okay.
that type of work.
Sure.
So it was, and I just wanted a new experience. I was
Yeah.
at a place in my life. The best way to put it is I just wanted a different experience. But there's a difference between work shape and gym shape, and I was not in work shape. So I did that for a short period of time. I ended up going back to school and kind of I don't know if it was if you want to call it a midlife crisis, but it was a midlife finding myself. After that, I became the behavioral health professional for a local IBEW in
Okay.
Philadelphia.
Gotcha.
I went there in a similar capacity as in my ally trades role. A little bit different though. I had more penetration into the workforce, and I was around the apprentices a little bit more, and it was contained to one local. So I felt like I had more just more impact, the
Okay.
ability to have impact. Then I was there till 22, and I came to the IUPAT as the helping hand director in June of 22.
Gotcha.
As
Eh,
of June of 25 is the LMCI director. So yeah,
Awesome.
it's been an interesting path.
And I got to assume you wanted a different experience with the ironworkers. I assume you got a different experience with the
I sure
ironworkers.
did. I sure did. And I have a lot of even more respect for those guys than I did, before I started working there. So
And,
for
and
sure.
and I've never heard the term gym shape versus work shape, and that's a great one though, because there are a lot of folks that are in great gym shape, but no way they could handle the work.
I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
that's a good point. I love it. So, very cool, very cool. I like the background. So I'm with Chris Scheiblein, director of LMCI, International Union of Painters. And Allied Trades, IUPAT. So let's talk a little bit about LMCI. You just mentioned you were in the position here for a very short time. You replaced a legend, Tim
Yeah.
Stricker. I got to ask, how was the transition for you? I mean, he's got pretty big shoes, and it had to be something different, but obviously deserved because of everything you've accomplished in your career.
I appreciate that, Max. Yeah, that term shoes to fill, big shoes to fill is an understatement here. I mean, Tim is a great guy and so well respected in the industry, have been around for a long time, knows everybody. So yeah, I hope I can do a fraction of what he's done in this role. But the transition's been decent. I mean, the more I get, it's only been 5, 6 months, but the more I get in front of people, the more I'm able to kind of build rapport with them. Um, so each month it's been building. But I think, in my previous role, the ability, one thing I had to do in that was listen.
Hmm.
And it was difficult conversations. And I had to really try it to find an even ground, even if sometimes people reality, their perspective is their truth, right? And I may not agree with that, but I have to find a way, right?
Right.
So the helping hand stuff really laid the groundwork for that, the foundation for me to be able to do that in this role. So it's going well though. And I think the other side of that is that we were able to transition Helping Hand
Yeah.
into a new director too. So that's going well also. So
For sure. And a little bit later in the podcast, I want to dive into Helping Hand and mental health.
yeah.
But before we do that, let's talk about LMCI. For those who don't know, what is the mission there? What is your mission with LMCI? What's the background there?
So the textbook answer, the LMCI's mission is to really just strengthen the industry through
Hmm.
collaboration between the contractor and the union.
Right.
And that's done in, so there's a couple programs that we have that are housed within the LMCI. So we have a maternity program, we have a grant program, and Helping Hand, like we just mentioned. So they're housed within the LMCI. So they're more like, I guess, tangible programs or initiatives that help foster that bond, right? Foster that collaboration between labor and management. Um, but then I think a lot of it is I don't know how you say it, like unmeasurable, the relationship, like we just talked about.
Yeah.
That's because those relationships and those discussions, that dialogue is really what I guess pushes policy, program standards. Having those relationships and having those like-minded people in the room are the things that are the genesis of those things, right? That get them
Sure.
moving. So, but I think it all does stem around from that original kind of generic definition of collaboration between labor and management.
Which makes things, obviously that's the biggest key is, collaboration makes things go smooth.
Yeah.
The more you do it, the better you are at it. So, very cool. And I know a lot of people probably just don't understand it. Those that aren't involved with it. So great explanation of that. Thank you. So I got Chris Scheiblein with me, director LMCI-IUPAT.org is where you can find some more info there. Education and training is a big one. And one of the things I picked up from you, obviously, and you talked about, you're a peer counselor at one point, and probably still are, I would assume, helping people
Agree.
out. We struggle with this industry to get youth into the trades. And now you're involved with all the trades basically. What do we got to do? How do we get more people involved? And what do we do for the attraction of it? Because where I'm driven crazy is the high schools are always pushing college, college, college. And they should be pushing trades equally. I mean, it should be 50-50. And so I don't know, maybe Philly's different, maybe the world you run in different, but how can we attract some more youth and get more education and training out there to bring them to our worlds?
I think that's been like not an age-old question, but something that we've always struggled with, right? Do college or trade, and I think we've done a decent job of highlighting the pay-as-you-learn model, no school debt, pension and annuity, retire with dignity, and
Yeah.
you learn a skilled craft, like all these talking points. I think we've done a good job with, but I think what we're up against now, one of the things is that there's a lot more opportunity for younger people, meaning like there's different avenues. In other words, when I came in the 90s, I couldn't be a YouTuber. I couldn't
Right.
be an influencer.
Right.
I didn't have that option. And warehouse work and just call one out like Amazon, their starting pay is what first year is. So
Yeah.
not only we have to continue to market ourselves the way we do, I think we're up against other avenues and other paths that younger people can take, you
Yeah.
know. Um, and in that same breath, I think something we can handle is trying to make our culture more adaptive.
Hmm.
So one of the things that we look at as leaders is that there's four generations on the workforce right now on a job site. That's first time ever, right?
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Boomers, X's, millennial, and Z's, everything
Yeah.
from 18 to 65 on a work site, and they don't all view work the same way, right? And
No.
they don't all view life the same way, and that's
No.
okay.
Yeah.
There's preferences within that, but if we don't kind of see some of those nuances within there, we may have sites that are doing this battle, and young people may not feel that this is for them, right?
Right.
They may think that they wanted to get into it, then our culture kind of tells them different. So we kind of have to be adaptive and recognize those things because younger people they want to be valued, they want to be heard, they have a different sense of self and their work experience, frankly, than I did.
Yeah.
I didn't have my experience wasn't that when I came in, right? So I think that's kind of a layered question of what we have to do to, because it's one thing to attract them, I think it's another to retain them.
Yes. Good
We have a
point.
recruiting and a retention, not issue, but there's concerns there. That so we need to be versed on both.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and I hadn't thought about the four generations.
Yeah.
That is big because there's a big difference between the boomers and Z, and everything in between. So that's a big one for sure. And again, I agree on the recruitment and retention is a major play. I wonder if and if COVID, the fact that COVID kept so many people at home and people got comfortable working in that gig economy at home, doing things like you said, being a YouTuber. I wonder how big of a issue that's played into kind of the attitude going forward about getting out and getting your hands dirty.
I, I think so. I think a lot of people got very comfortable with working from home.
Hmm.
And COVID also did some detrimental as far as isolation, people working alone,
Right.
whereas on sites, that's typically not the case. You might have to go do a task alone in a closet or what it might be, but for the most part, it's a team, right? You're
Yeah.
working as a team, so that people may shy away from that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think you're right. This is it's an age-old problem. It's one that we have to just continue to figure out. And one of these days, I think we're going to unlock it because we have to.
We do.
We have to. So very interesting stuff. Chris Scheiblein's with me, Director LMCI at IUPAT. I always break up every podcast about halfway through with a fun question. And for you, I'm curious, is there a phrase or a motto that you live by and why? And I'll tell you, mine is from my dad, and it was patience. I have zero patience, but yet that was his motto, and that's what he instilled in all of us. And I don't know why he gave me the word, and I don't have the skill set for the patience, but he gave me the word. How about you, my friend? What is there a phrase or motto or something you live by?
Wow. I probably two, but the one I live by, the other I seem to say a lot. I seem to say it is what it is a lot because that
Hmm.
seems how things tend to go.
Yeah,
But I think the real to answer this question would be one day at a time.
yeah,
And I mean that in a sense where like it doesn't mean you don't make plans and you live haphazardly. It's more so that I never really know what the day's going to bring, right?
yeah,
And I mean, our schedules are set out through 2026 already, right? So it's far from one day at a time. But as far as handling the audibles and the changes that may come on a day to day and how I handle that. And listen, there's a lot of days where patience is nowhere near me, and I'm frustrated with the way things didn't work out or did work out, right?
right.
Um, but I think trying to live to that, it really is one day. I have control of today. Let's get through this 24 hours and see, do our
I,
best in that window.
I like it. I like it. I do say to myself quite often, day by day, day by day. But
Yeah,
one day at a time is a good one because you're right. I mean, you got to kind of take it as it comes and
yeah,
and then roll with it. Very very good stuff. And better than me failing at patience. At least you're following through with your motto. I'm not, and maybe
someday.
someday I'll figure it out. A couple more questions for Chris Scheiblein. Really appreciate him being on. And it's funny because you're more than just a person who works with the glazers. Obviously, you've got all the other trades that you work with. What in your time now in these last few years, what's made you most proud of being around IUPAT? And then is there something on the other side that you still look at like we got to get better at? What's been the good and the also needing improvement angle?
I think as far as being proud of, especially with I guess I'll keep it to the Glazers. I mean, I really, the three gentlemen that I work with, they're like the team of Matt Fox in training, Jason Lamberth, who you know these guys,
Hmm.
Jason Lamberth in service, and Travis Nevins in organizing. Like those three have been personally really good to me. I mean, like very knowledgeable in their experience and like really wanting me to succeed. At least it seems that way. But they're also their drive and like how they want to move the industry and take care of our members. Like they really are good. They care, and I really am proud to stand with them, like at Glass Build, and to be with them and just be part of that team. I really am proud of that.
Yeah, and I got to jump in. I mean, they are unbelievable. All three of them do such a wonderful job, and I got to know at least Matt and Travis a little bit better than Jason, but those guys have really continued to blossom in our industry, and you see them everywhere, and that's important because I mean they're doing really good things, and I think that's got to make you pretty proud, obviously too.
And they really, I think it really comes down to the bottom line is that they care.
Yeah.
They care, and they really believe in the industry, and the people that are associated with it, right? So it makes their jobs easier, I would imagine, in that sense, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah, and I
uh,
definitely before just
yeah,
interrupt real quick. I also think it's one of those things. If you do what you love what you do, sort of thing, and you can tell with those guys,
yeah.
they love what they do. I mean, it may be one of those days that it's a rough day, but they love what they do. And so I just want to get that in there. But okay, on the flip side, what do you got on the flip side?
I don't, that's tougher. I think
Yeah,
one of the things I've seen, again, I'm somewhat of an outsider, but it seems like we need to educate people more of I guess, the nuances and the specialty of glazing. Like, I feel like from what I've heard and seen, people really don't know the intricacies of the systems, and like they may hire people that aren't really, that's not their craft, or they might not be specific to know the system, so it seems right,
yeah,
but then problems come back, you know what I mean, or problems or
yeah.
issues, or in the sense of leaks or whatever it might be, because that wasn't, and I don't know how that's supposed to be messaged. Maybe through conversations like this and
Hmm.
platforms like this, and the use of social media. Again, I know two of those three guys use social media heavily to
Yeah,
promote the industry, because glazing is very specific, if
yeah,
that makes sense. Like
yeah.
maybe we need to do a better job of that.
I would agree, I would agree with that. And I've seen that. And I do think that and there's a combo also kind of what you were talking about earlier about the four generations is that you get that older generation who learned how to do it a certain way. And if they learned how to do it wrong or a little different and the product, product has changed,
Right.
they could be teaching the next three generations the wrong
True.
way to do it.
True.
And so we do have to continue to step that up. And I do think there's some movement to play. The AGMT thing, I think, is really important. I think the training that Matt does all over the country is really important. I just think we have to we have to just keep pounding that rock.
Yep.
And so that's a good point by you. Very good point. Chris Scheiblein's with me, director LMCI, and you mentioned earlier about the helping hand
Mhm.
area where you were, and obviously mental health's been a big one for you, and it's a big one for me. I've had people like Kyle Beyer on this podcast, and Dave Argus from Karis and Karis on this podcast, and really big drivers of mental health. How do we keep that train on the tracks and pushing, and also that stigma? It's easier to say we can take away the stigma. It's easier said than done. Because we still have people on the site that are still scared to talk about it. How do we get better at this? How do we keep that going and raise it up a level?
I I mean, yeah, and that's crazy that we're still talking about stigma, right?
Yeah.
It's just, it's been 20 years. I'm still using that word, but one of the things that we've done, so at Helping Hand, one of the main things is normalizing the conversation is the term we use, right?
Yeah.
So it has to be more commonplace. And that in itself will reduce the stigma, whether that's shared success stories or shared failures or whatever that looks like. And even having it more commonplace, Toolbox talks around this, safety stand downs on big sites is geared around behavioral health and where to get help. Helping Hands model is kind of a three-legged stool as far as training and education, resources, and awareness. And the awareness is what you're speaking about.
Hmm.
So, but it's also one thing to kind of jump up and down that, hey, there's a problem, but we
Right.
also have to follow it up with what to do about it,
Yes.
right? So it has to be an educated conversation, because there's so much ignorance in this space that people, and not maliciously,
No.
people just don't know. And what happens in that space, if you've ever reached out for help and you get told to press four, or we'll call you back, or whatever that
Right.
might be, what happens is people don't do it.
Right.
People don't do it, and they get frustrated and they get annoyed, and then their issues and their challenges continue or worsen. So, like, it has to be a thoughtful conversation, but it has to be a conversation. It has to be a
Yes.
discussion and dialogue around this. And I think that eventually, because we have made inroads in this area for sure, but it's still definitely the elephant in the room in certain rooms.
For sure, for sure. And I think the shared story angle is something that we probably could do more of
Yep.
because there are a ton of, I mean, and you mentioned about, there's both success stories and failure stories, but there's been a ton of success stories. And when people hear them, they're surprised. So that means we're not spreading it enough. That we're not sharing it enough, and that's something that I think I have to do and others have to do. And again, I salute you for the time that you spent in Helping Hand and then continuing the process now because it makes a difference. So please keep that going.
Thank you.
Awesome. So one more question for you, and again, I asked this to pretty much everyone, and what's interesting about asking this one to you is just where you're at in the whole chain of things. But the year ahead, we're in 2026 right now. How are you seeing the markets? How are you seeing the industries? Construction industry. It's been a heck of a run here lately. How are you feeling? Good, bad, other? Because you've got eyeballs in a lot of different areas that I don't. And
Yeah.
so how are you feeling about the year ahead?
From what I'm hearing, it's going to be decent. Again, I think that's certain regions might say that's not
Right.
true, right? We're looking at
Right.
all of North America, so there may be some regions that are busier than others, right?
Right.
But I think we're always going to have our footprint on, pharmaceuticals, the data centers, the schools and hospitals, things like that are going to continue, right? There's
Yeah.
a lot of work coming in different areas in those sectors.
Hmm.
From what I've heard regionally, I know as far as some glass, Vegas has always has some stuff going on, North Carolina. So there are certain areas that we're definitely hearing might be more,
Yeah.
but for the most part, it seems like it's going to be a decent year.
Good. We're all for that. We're all for that. And Vegas, yeah, Vegas always seems to have something going on,
For
and
sure.
that's where Glass Build will be in 2026. And so I
Yep.
guess I got to ask you, what did you think of Glass Build this past year? Since I saw you there, and it was jumping when I saw you. I got a few minutes with you, and then we both got pulled away.
Yeah.
But what did you think of the show?
It was impressive. I never had been to a show like that, honestly, right? I've never seen that, and I don't think I realized there was so much automation in the space. I didn't realize that it was that. I knew some of it as far as the robotics on our end from
Hmm.
installation,
Right.
but as far as like some of the shop work and all that, those massive machines, I mean, I sound like kind of like an idiot here, but I've really had no
Yeah.
idea the gravity and how far that has come.
Yes.
I've never seen it, so it was very impressive.
Yeah, and even for me, I've been to 23 of these, and every year I get shocked
Right.
by something that I hadn't expected and didn't see. And this year, though, this year everybody really came to play. I mean,
Yeah,
it
seems that
was,
way.
maybe they knew you were coming and they had to show off.
Yeah, yeah,
That the King of Philly was coming. We got to show off here. So, but I'm glad you liked it. Hopefully, we can get you to Vegas in
definitely,
the fall. Good.
definitely.
Good. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Chris Scheiblein, Director, LMCI, International Union of Painters and Allied Trades, IUPAT.org. They're doing great things. He's doing great things. Check that out. Thank you so much for doing the podcast. Thank you for all the support of the industry, too. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Max. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much to Chris, who we just heard from, and Sarah before that. Tremendous people, and I hope you enjoyed that run through their lives and their business. Really talented people. As always, I'll get to the TV in a second. A thank you to the gang from FHC for their support. This is the year that you really need to challenge the way things have always been done and consider doing business with a manufacturing and supplying company that consistently puts Glazers' needs ahead of shareholders. Check out my friends from FHC, fhc-usa.com. They've got your back, and you now have a choice. TV. A couple ones. One is The Pit, which was one of my favorite shows of 2025, is back. It is starting here in January, so you want to check that out. That's on HBO or HBO Max, whatever that service is called these days. It's The Pit. Very good. If you haven't seen the first season, go watch that and then come back for the second season. And then this is the year for the World Cup in North America. It'll be in the United States and Canada and Mexico. And Captain America, Christian Pulisic, I cannot say his name. He is one of the best players in the U.S., and Paramount Plus has a documentary on him. It's 9 parts. They're all 25, 30 minutes. Really interesting look at the guy. Fascinating how he was basically picked up from being the best player in America and dropped into the middle of Germany, and he had to sink or swim, and the guy is definitely swimming, and now where he's playing in Italy, he is on fire, and World Cup this year is going to be really fun in North America. Can't wait. All right. Next podcast coming up is going to be a good one as well. But again, thank you to Chris and to Sarah, and thank you to all of you for listening. Thanks for checking it out last year. Thanks for being with me this year. Good year ahead. Healthy, happy one to all of you. And we'll see you next time.
Oh, the music is stopped.